handle multiple timelines so well. Okay.
Midori, I love it that you have me cracking up and we haven't really even started engaging yet.
So let's officially start this as like, welcome to the apocalypse. And what the hell did we title it? Spirituality and stealth woo, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So
the apocalypse, straight up spirituality, I think, and stealth woo.
I'm also going to be very transparent as to what the purpose of this conversation is. There's a couple purposes, couple reasoning for this. One, we actually want to give you some tools that Carolyn has to share that might allow you to get through a day at a time just a little easier. One. Two, promoting her brand new Patreon page, which is go to patreon.com/Sarasa Tantra, and you'll find it. You can also put in her name. Sarasa Tantra, all the vowels are A's. So A. Okay. I can't spell, so that's how I remember it. Yeah. Sarasa Tantra, it's all A. Okay. Yeah. So, and then also, let's not forget my Patreon, patreon.com/Planet Midori, because everything's Planet Midori. All right. Because apparently, according to my wife, I am just like not of this world, and I don't think she means that in a good way. I think she means that in like the found under a rock kind of way, but we won't go into that. Yeah, maybe something to do with my tentacles.
We've got the tentacles cracking me up because Dawn was saying about cracking jokes as we saunter through hell. Mark making sure that we know how to spell Canadian A. I'm loving it. Thank you guys for engaging.
Oh. Yeah, Canadian. Yeah. How to spell Canada? C-A N-A-D-A. Did I get it right? Did I get it right? Okay. Awesome. A. All right. So a little bit on the wisecracking bit. I'm going to be honest here. Caroline is like humor deficient.
You're helping though, Midori. You are.
No, seriously. She doesn't get like sarcasm, and there's moments when I have to stop and go, that was a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she is so earnest and so sincere and so loving and so fucking direct that she can't take a goddamn joke. So of course I have a great time just running circles around her in that. And once in a while I like make her laugh. Sometimes I make her pee, which is like remote golden shower play.
I'm enjoying our mutual students that are on this call starting to tap into Caroline and Midori's kinkier side. But you make me laugh a lot, Midori. And speaking to the apocalypse, it actually is one of the things that's getting me through is humor right now. Because, as Dawn was saying about, isn't this, cracking up as we saunter through hell, like this feels very disorienting. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm hearing that from my friends. Most of us, our schedules have been readjusted. Our realities have been readjusted. The world as we knew it 2 weeks ago is not the same world that we find ourselves in today. And I think humor is a really great way to release some oxytocin in your system and to feel connection. I'm actually noticing the dark humor is working for me really well these days. So whether you're joining us in laughing from home or just laughing when I don't get the jokes, because that's also, Midori is not kidding when she has to often say, Caroline, I'm now about to tell you a joke, or that was the joke, right? She gets to crack up at me, not always getting it, because I am really fucking serious about my kink, about NeoTantra, about a lot of things. But Midori is one of the top people in my life who makes me laugh, and I'm very grateful for that.
So here's a humor impaired person that I can make laugh. I actually don't know what that says about the quality of my humor. Maybe I should be concerned.
Now I'm ready to pee again, Midori. Yes, I think that says great things about the quality of your humor and about the quality of your psychological dominance, I will say, because I was just sharing with somebody last night about how good you are, but you're amazing at getting people to tell you everything. Kegels, yes, we neo-tantrics are quite good at that, Karen. But we just give you all the ammunition that you delightfully get to use against us.
So I want to turn this over to you before we launch fully in. Can you do a brief explanation about your Patreon? Because I want you to grow your fucking Patreon because you give your good shit away.
Thank you, Midori. Yes. I love it that you're dumbing me into doing that now too. Yeah, so literally Midori popped my Patreon cherry. I think it was just 2 or 3 days ago. And Robin, if you could just mute yourself on the call. We've got everybody muted for now. Thank you so much. And yes, so I'm a Patreon virgin, and we're going to actually have Midori de-virginize me with our next collaboration. What were we calling it, Midori? I think Caroline's Virgin
Sacrifice. Yes.
So the only people that are going to get access to that are those that have joined on my Patreon, and I'd love you to go there and support both myself, and if you haven't already supported Midori, please do that. For years, actually, Midori and I have been, I've just popped the link in there for everybody. We've been doing these Facebook Lives and sharing a lot of our gifts and our tools very generously with you all, and we love sharing. And as I'm sure some of you are also experiencing, the world has shifted, and it's literally going to make the difference between us continuing to be able to do this work or not being able to share these amazing tools with you. And what I love about technology these days is it helps us get connected wherever we are in the world. I love that, Dawn, you saying, so instead of a life coach, we need a life dom. I think at this time we do, to get our brains back.
So I'm going to dom this conversation for just a sec. For those of you who don't know what Patreon is, it's a subscription-based way to support your favorite creatives, and it's a monthly subscription. It can be as little as $2 a month. Of course, anything higher is also a good idea as well. And for that, you get to not only, so think of this like NPR. It's like public radio, okay? We won't send you a fucking tote bag, though, because I think we all got enough of that. Maybe I will. I don't know. Ask me nicely. I have some tote bags, okay? I mean, you know, I'll send you random tote bags just out of my bag collection. And then I'll sign up my name. Great, yeah. Rainbow Grocery, signed by Midori. There you go. Whatever. But we're going to be delivering contents in each of our stuff. Many of us are collaborating with one another. You and I are going to be mutually collaborating on each other's Patreon. This is also a way that as creators, we don't feel isolated and ending up in a place of stagnation and self-doubt, that we may still engage in relevance, because this lady's got some relevant info. So check out patreon.com/Sarasa Tantra. And don't you have some tips to share with us? Woman, go.
I do. I just want to thank Mark. Thank you for responding to the call and signing up to my Patreon. I think that's my third. So you get to be my first, seconds, and thirds. And who will be next? Well, one of the things that I'm noticing, Midori, as I connect with my students and my friends, obviously from a socially appropriate distance, but at least 6 feet away, is I'm noticing with all of this, people are very ungrounded. And the way Midori will talk a little bit about what stealth woo is and sort of my more explicit version of woo, or explicit version of spirituality, but people are really ungrounded. Our foundations have been rocked to the core. From a neo-tantric perspective, NeoTantra, just to orient people that haven't met me before, is a dynamic embodiment practice of meditation with a focus on sacred sexuality, different from classical Tantra, which is practiced and originates mostly from India. Anyway, But people have lost their connection to the ground. People's survival has been threatened. People are freaking out. Like, I don't know if it's just my people, but you know, let it rain on the chat if you're also noticing that, or send some hearts on Facebook if you're noticing that. Yeah, your world has shifted, and what we knew to be true, we're having to find our ground in a new way. Thank you. Yes, it is a tumultuous time, Karen. And you know, the other day I was just going out for a walk so that we don't all go stir crazy. I was heading out for a walk, and I literally just walked around the block. And I live in Oakland in California, in Northern California. And I just went to hang out by a tree. And I got into the work I do because I'm very touchy-feely. And right now it's kind of forbidden to touch people, which is, you know, a challenge for me. I've realized we can hug trees. Well, we can touch ourselves. Touching ourselves is good. Okay, this is not turning into camming, Midori, no matter how much they might like it. Still got our clothes on. But yeah, I noticed by literally actually even just sitting down by a tree, I could feel just everything I'm holding on to. Show us a demo of touching yourself. Midori just did. But I could literally just feel. Oh my goodness. Everybody's going to crack me up. I love that, Kyrie. Self-pleasure in place. Yes. Oh goodness. Okay, Midori, I can't. See, she never lets me be serious. That's awesome. But literally just by putting my back against the tree, I could just feel the earth loves to. I speak fluent Wu, by the way, for those of you who haven't met me before. And the earth will literally just pull all the crap out of you that isn't serving you. And I could feel this much more directly in how much I had to let go of, literally just by sitting with my back to a tree. And I'm a fan of redwoods, for those of you that have access to them. Hey, Jaylene, thank you for joining us on Facebook. But you could really pick any tree. And, you know, because I'm in Northern California, I'm a tree hugging hippie. I was actually that long before I got to California. But because it can be hard for us not even to be able to reach out, I'm noticing I'm missing that impulse. Well, the impulse is there, but I'm missing the capability to be able to reach out and hold on to people, but we can still hug trees. So for some of you that aren't already tree hugging hippies, I can imagine. That was not planned. I love it, Midori. I recommend, if possible, this is why I can never keep a straight face around Midori. She always cracks me up. Now we've got kitty play happening, coughing up purple on the call. Great. I mean, I'm seeing, Kyrie, yes, you could reach even to the sky if that's helpful for you. But being able to reach out to something, yay, Robin's another tree hugger joining me as well. Now I don't have to feel quite so crazy. But that's a really good way. Getting out in nature at the very least, if tree hugging is far too edgy for you, I really recommend it. One of the things that I love about hugging trees is they don't tell you to stop. Right? A person, no matter how much they adore you, eventually they'll like need some space. And yeah, so you can hug your pets too if you have those. Is that room, Midori?
No, that's Jack. Jack hates being hugged. He's like a 5-year-old being like kissed by an elderly auntie. But I'm hugging nature. I'm fucking hugging nature, and it doesn't want to be hugged.
So pussy play, yes, Dawn, exactly. We can do
Come here,
pussy
nature.
play if you have access to cats in the comfort of your home. So that's one of the strategies that I'm using. And, you know, as long as we're keeping 6 feet distance, one of the most nurturing things for myself right now many kinds of pussy play. I'm going to be so horny by the end of this call. I'm going to have to go and do some self-pleasuring when we're done with you all. But actually hiking with friends in nature, you still get to connect, keep your 6 feet distance, and also watch any other people on the path that oh my goodness, Midori, there's no ways I can be fucking serious with that going on. And then I want to speak, so those are kind of ways you can ground, even just by walking on the earth is very grounding. For those of us, like I live in Oakland, California, there's a lot of concrete and roads, and it's kind of like they keep us separate from the earth, but even just putting your feet on the ground, on some grass or on some earth can be so, so helpful. And I don't know how I can dom Midori in this call, but I'd love it if I could lead us all through a bit of an exercise to help us, for those, like some of us can't get outside, maybe it's too cold to be outside. Just a way to invite you back into your bodies and help you come home. Because with all the anxiety that I'm noticing is just happening globally, and especially, like I'm somebody who doesn't watch the news very often, but to stay up to date, I'm at least noticing, to take care of my students, I have to watch the news, and that adds to the anxiety, and then all our energy comes up here, and sometimes we just jump right out of our bodies. So I'd love it for those of you that are willing, if you join me, and if it's possible, you could be standing with your feet, both feet firmly on the ground, or you could be sitting. I'm going to stay sitting with my feet on the ground. And, many of us have to, oh, look at Midori, she's being so obedient. I don't think I've ever had Midori be obedient to me before. I've embraced my switchy side in the last few years, Midori. So take your right hand out to the side, palm, you can't quite see my palm, but palm facing the sky. And then inhale up above the crown of your head, and exhale with intention and pressure, and lovingly just inviting yourself back down as you bring your palm down to the crown of your head. And you can choose how much pressure. I recommend quite a firm hand here. And just notice the attention on your skull. And if it's easier, you're welcome to close your eyes for this visualization. And you can keep your hand there if you like. I'm going to relax mine. And I'll invite you to put your attention on your skull and the bones there that are protecting your mind and your brain. And then breathe into the base of your skull. And with an exhalation, follow down, vertebra by vertebra, down the neck. And as you keep continuing down, follow to that space between your shoulder blades. Breathing into your shoulder blades here, and exhaling your attention into your shoulder sockets. You can tell I'm not a body worker, so I don't know the technical terms. Inhaling down the upper arm bones to your elbows. And energy follows attention, so try and keep your attention with all of us in this group practice. From your elbows, exhale down your forearm bones to your wrists. And from the wrists, with a deep sigh on the exhalation, follow all the way through the bones in your hands, all the way to your fingertips. And then bring your attention to the back of your heart, between the shoulder blades again. And we're going to exhale down the spine, traveling all the way, following that natural curve of the spine into your pelvis and into your sacrum. And allow yourself to sit in that space as your hips, as the hip bones spread. And from the hip bones and your SI joint connecting into that hip socket where the femur attaches. And then with another sigh, give it some sound if you can. Exhale through the femur into the knee socket. And allow your body to be heavy here, especially if you're sitting. Just feeling the weight of your thighs, or if you're standing, you can notice the attention and the weight moving down to the lower part of your body and your limbs. And inhale into your knees. Exhale down your shin bones all the way to your ankles. And noticing at least 80% of the attention in your ankles. And from here, inhale into the ankles and exhale. We've got so many bones in the feet, through each and every one of them. Taking up your space through the bones, allowing yourself to embody your skeleton. And noticing how that brings you much more exquisitely into the now. And I was talking about using the earth as a resource. So if you like, from your feet, you can just, with your imagination or intention, just allow the earth to pull any stress or tension or anything that doesn't really serve you down into the earth, allowing it to be composted there. And seeing if you can notice how your body has settled. And I actually picked kind of a non-woo meditation because I wanted something tangible that you can all feel. And if you want to, as you gently open your eyes, keep your connection to the earth, the one thing that is not shifting. The earth, I mean, she spins, but she's not going to move. And even when we're on sea, the earth is beneath us. So for example, when I was in India, at a very intense classical tantric ritual called the Durga Puja, it was quite overwhelming. And I would keep this connection to the earth and be like, you can even have the earth rise up to meet you. She's so much more vast. Now I'm going into the woo, but she's so much more vast than we are. So allow yourself to be supported. And anytime you notice you panicking or you're freaking out, you're feeling anxious, or you're overwhelmed. Red Queen, thank you for joining us, and please mute your mic. That means you've actually lost your connection to ground. So I really encourage you to notice how this practice made you feel, and to keep doing this. You may need to do it a few times a day. I know I do these days. And I actually, have a pretty robust practice of grounding. So yeah, feel free to share on the chat, either on Facebook or on the Zoom call, just about what you noticed as a result of that practice. Oh,
Caroline?
yeah.
So
Love that.
I would like to take just a couple, 3 minutes now, and if anyone has comments, etc., I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself and you can speak up. I'm going to try to control the conversation a little bit. So you are welcome to either unmute yourself and speak up, or Robin said, I notice feeling much more in my body now instead of my head. Yay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Dawn feels much longer.
Yeah. Mark, anything you want to share? Oh, I love that, Robin, hearing that you have more space. Ah, great. So I think they all listen to me, Midori, because I told that they're being very obedient. I'm enjoying that. All commenting on the Zoom. So, Midori, given that they were so obedient, comment there. Do you still want them to share on chat? I mean, on.
Or you can, you can unmute yourself if you wish, and just, speak to us with voice, which is also nice too.
So for me, it was very much like the kind of space we go into when we do group work. And oddly enough, we're a group and we're doing group work. And through this, we are all connected. And so in addition to what my usual practice would be, being guided and feeling the group going, it's just that much more interesting, connecty, groundy, all of these things, and yet none of them quite explain enough of how great it is. But it's a start.
But I love you speaking to that group effect, because when we practice together like this, and Robin said it as well, she said the field effect. And it's so true. We actually support each other in this practice of grounding. So I love that you noticed that. I could feel all of you drop and settle, even though we were in different parts of the country or parts of the world.
Totally.
Felt like the calm of going into ritual, which, and especially now, it's really grounding and centering to be able to be with a group of like-minded people doing the same thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love that, Robin, you saying you like the part about the earth supporting us and our connection to the planet being solid. I don't do that well. I'm like a triple Taurus. I'm really into astrology. I'm a triple Taurus. I like things to stay the same. I like routine. I like to be planned and organized. And all that shit's just gone out of the window in many ways. So yeah, having something really concrete that we can connect to, I think is a very potent practice. We're giving just a couple more moments for those of you that want to share with your words on the call. Who would like to jump in?
I also feel more embodied. I feel more like I'm inhabiting my whole body. As you took us through the meditation, I began to inhabit more consciously each area of the body that you took us through. And I particularly like when you called our attention to the bones in our hands. Those kind of details really helped me connect with my physical being.
Yes, so it's based on all these woo principles, right? And we can do it in a very tangible way. So,
I don't know what woo principles means.
well, the way
So, Caroline, you better explain how we use woo, because we use it in a very double-edged way.
we do. So for me, Mark's enjoying the pussy play, I can see.
Yeah, and Mark also knows probably where I'm going to go with this.
So we're using the word woo or woo-woo, as some people, at least in Northern California, phrase it, but to mean things that are esoteric or things that are untangible in a sense. For me, they're actually quite tangible. Like I felt everybody on this call just start dropping down, but that requires quite a heightened sense. I know there were some others on this call that, and in SoCal too, yes. Thank you, Dawn. But you know, some people are going to be more energetically sensitive to subtle energy. And for others, having something tangible, I kind of made the crossover. We were doing an energetic practice, which can be hard for some people to measure, but we anchored it in the body and in the skeleton of the body. So it actually dovetails very nicely into the ways Midori and I want to share about, you know, everyday spirituality versus stealth woo. And they're similar, but they also, the way we approach it is quite different, right, Midori?
Shall we launch into?
Yeah.
Okay, so so how do I say this? All right, so Caroline is like so wooful. I mean, her cup runneth forth with like wooness. And yeah, when we first got to know each other, I'd give her all sorts of shit about, can you say that in English? Like, you know.
Sanskrit a lot, you know, I use Sanskrit words and that could be pretentious and that could be like spiritual bypassing in a way, but I practice Tantra that comes from Hindu spirituality. So for me, it's actually honoring the traditions versus, but not everybody understands me, right?
Ooh, stealth woo spelled with the W-U. Yes, it's my secret ninja name. Ooh. All right, so I'm gonna lay out where I'm coming from, all right? So here I am in like central of like woo land. I mean, this has been like Wooville since like, okay, that should be like a, Dr. Seuss.
You're going to come into a Dr. Seuss version now. I got
Yeah. You know, here I am in Wooville, you know, where like all the people are like, since like, I don't know, since the beats were hanging out. And yeah, here you get also, I think it's the thing that happens from being like the edge of a continent as well as being a port town where all these different cultural factions come into intersection. And it's definitely a city where reinvention and questioning happens because it is a new city. It's a boom town. I mean, on one hand, San Francisco, you have like hardcore venture capitalists, profit-motivated capitalists. And then on the other side, you have explorations of spirituality, acid dropping, self-exploration, going to Est and all that stuff, and a comfortable and uncomfortable intersection of different Pan-Pacific religious and spiritual practices. So what you get here, and I went to Berkeley, okay, right? So there's a lot of language that around spirituality and self-exploration. That's the part that's nice. Now, here's my critique, okay? There is conscious and not conscious use of the language of culturally misappropriated spirituality as a way by which to cleave social hierarchy and flag and signal for social virtue, as well as essentially cultural snobbery. Oftentimes, practiced by a majority culture, borrowing from minority culture, stripping it of meaning. But I also, God knows I've met enough people who use the language of spirituality as a way by which to get into somebody's pants.
Mm-hmm.
To be like elitist snotheads. And kind of like, quite literally holier than thou, right? And I also lack of specificity. There are a lot of things that actually can be used in the common language of the land, explained in a way and spoken in a way that is relatable to all people. There are there's a lot of things that so many of the religion, spiritual, and philosophical traditions actually are saying the same shit. Life's going to shit. Everything is shit. Shit is attached to us. We're cleansing ourselves of our shit. Shit is shit. All this shit. We're deep in shit. Shit is good. From shit comes flowers. Shit, we all shit. Okay. So
I'm cracking up at your translation of the Four Noble Truths in Buddhism in a very liberal way.
You got it. So I've become over the years incredibly suspect about overly casual usage of language and states of being or communication that could be said in plain English. And when it's made into the plain language of the land, I think it has an opportunity to transcend the interfaith, interphilosophy conflict, and perhaps a way to get it more accessible for everyone. I am also, my background, I'm born and raised in Japan from a very much of a Zen Buddhist influence. I wouldn't say study, but certainly an influence. And with Zen Buddhism, this is Buddhism for killers.
How is that? That's an oxymoron, Midori.
No, it's not actually.
It's not? Tell me why
it's not. Zen is a branch of Buddhism that it was propagated very much by the warrior class, right? So much in the way that the Jesuits are the warriors of Christ, and they are the ones that will pick up arms. They are self-questioning as well as trained to be murderers at the order of supposedly a peace-loving church. So Zen, it landed into this island that is caste-based and hierarchical, okay, much in the way that Buddhism in caste-based South Asia, right? But for Zen, it is, if you are born into a caste where your responsibility is that you are either to kill or be killed or kill yourself at the command of the clan that you are born to. And if that is your path and your responsibility, how do you reconcile that with the organism's desire to survive, but also the organism's desire to consume? How do you reconcile that you walk the path of a warrior at the same time that you may be killed? Zen is the Buddhism for killers. How do you come to terms with that? And you may never come to terms with that, and that's part of the discourse. That there is attachment and sadness and contradiction as life is shit, right? So an image that I hold in my mind around the background that I come from is polishing your sword while sitting under the cherry blossoms. And cherry blossom viewing is not that of It's actually not about celebrating the pretty flowers. Okay, there's two realities to cherry blossom viewing. One reality is spring vacation, sit under the trees and get fuck all drunk. Like Japanese blind fucking drunk. Okay, that's one reality. The other reality is cherry blossom fall all at once. There is that moment of glory and a moment of death. And there is that liminal space in which you are and you are not. But you are under the cherry blossom while you are polishing and maintaining your sword that will be used and has been used and may be used to fell another living creature. So Zen is the Buddhism of killers and the Buddhism for those who may be merchants or, you know, if you are a farmer in Japan, your life is shit. It's kind of like in Monty Python, there's a sequence in the Holy Grail. And tell me, Carolyn, you've seen Holy Grail.
We didn't negotiate humiliation.
This is a central thing in Western civilization. In order to understand Western civ, you must watch Holy Grail. Okay. And that lovely sequence around the peasants discussing the plight of the peasants and capitalistic feudal structure. Okay, excellent passage. I highly recommend it. Yes, Holy Grail. Yeah, so actually Zen is the Buddhism of killer and how to live in the contradiction. So that's my background, you know, and that informs a lot of things. I come to San Francisco where the Zen here is all like pastel. It's like pastel Zen. And whereas like I went to like Zen Buddhist summer camp, right? And I remember at age 10, you know, I was like, you know, you run around and do the arts and crafts and run around the beach and all that, but then you sit down for meditation, right? And you're talking 10-year-olds having spent the whole day on the beach. So I'm sitting in meditation. We're all like on the wood floor, you know, and pastel Zen. Yes, it is a thing. If you've been to San Francisco Zen Center, you'll know what I mean. They're all like wearing like pastel shit. Now, the Zen that I went to, I mean, they were like, oh, yeah, yeah, they're like the Jesuits, right? They're all like in black robes and very severe. But, you know, sitting down, doing the meditation, you know, and not even knowing that what we were learning were mudras. And of course, we're 10, so we fall asleep. And the monks are walking around behind you with like a stick, a split bamboo stick, walking around, and you're falling asleep, and then it comes crashing down on your back. Okay, not really crashing down, it's just split bamboo, so it's mostly loud. They probably just tap me on the shoulder, but I jump up awake, right? And then the monk bows to thank you, and you bow to thank them. And I go back to sitting and kind of fidgeting on my legs that are going numb. And I try to slide this way on my ass and slide that way on my ass. And I look to my left, and the kid over there is falling asleep. But the smart kid on my left, I mean, they seem to have like all together. So like out of Japanese competitiveness and not wanting to like fail, I'm like, okay. But there was something about that I remember going to Buddha's summer camp, and I really liked it. There was an austerity to it. I also find there's not a whole lot of preachiness. There is no requirement to believe in any God. And when I go to my various home temples and all that, you don't actually see the statues. You see the garden. And I get along really well with secular Jews because it's all about the discourse of one's ethics in a shit-filled world. And so this is why Laura Antonou and I work really well, because I mean, she's like half rabbi already. So, yeah. Yeah, so, you know, and in fact, her and her wife have told me that whenever I'm ready for my bat mitzvah, they have my Hebrew name picked out. I don't know what it is.
I was just thinking today, Midori, speaking of Laura, I actually have her book, The Trainer, right?
Ooh, yeah. Excellent.
Because I was thinking for my Patreons to read some chapters in my sexy accent.
Oh, that'd be great.
People entertained at home. So
Yes, you are very accentful. You have a very sexy accent. You're dialectful. So about the stealth woo, which is in the title. So now you get a sense of my background. And Carolyn, now do you understand what I mean by Buddhism for killers?
yes.
And this is what
Midori, but I love it that almost every time we connect, I learn something else. I mean, obviously we designed this together, but I hadn't heard about being hip with sticks when you were 10, having to be at Zen camp. I didn't know.
Oh, don't make it sound like it's a bad thing. I enjoyed it. I am a pervert after all.
Early
No
kink
chance that
indoctrination.
contributed to your kink side. Not at all.
No. I'm gonna smack you for your own good, and you will thank me for it.
And receive and give bows for it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Midori, I want to keep up with some of Karen's questions on chat, so just allow me an interlude. If anything, it'll be to cross-promote Laura's book and work, so I'm happy to do a check-in with her first. Yeah, so it's it's not about taking advantage of anybody. It's more about supporting, kind of like what Midori and I are.
Yeah, we're actually supporting each other by pimping each other's Patreon. So yeah. So stealth woo on that, because I actually, for those of you who, many of my friends are here, that I'm already weaving in many aspects of the various teachings I've come across and general good ideas, So what I mean by stealth woo is engaging in all the good ideas without the pretentiousness, but doing it in like a sneaky way that it rolls right into it. So I actually roll in a whole bunch of the good idea stuff that I've learned along the way, or had hopefully the monks tried to beat into me. Yay. So example of stealth woo is accepting that life is shit and it's complicated. And sometimes we carry our shit around. Some of you have heard me talk about thought squirrels of all the things that we hold, little bits in our mind. Well, because monkey mind doesn't translate so well in North America. We don't have monkeys that are like randomly stealing our lunches, which happens in India. So yeah, so monkey mind just doesn't translate so well. But the moment I say thought squirrels, anyone who's been to a park, and actually I had this experience in college when I was walking through campus, and I had a bag of groceries, and I stopped to talk to a friend, and I looked around, and I was suddenly surrounded by a circle of fat gray California squirrels, and they were slowly inching into my grocery bags, and they were going to rob me blind on the campus of Cal. But if anyone's ever seen, it's all the squirrels. And I thought, thought pigeons was a little too disgusting because they're, sky rats. But here's the thing. When I go to Hawaii, I can't do thought squirrels. I have to say thought mongoose, because there are no squirrels in Hawaii, but there are mongoose everywhere.
You're cracking me up, Midori. I'm loving your shares.
So other bit of practical stealth woo, a much shorter version of a grounding meditation, and is when I find myself a bit overwhelmed, and sometimes I'll recommend this to my students, is just take a few seconds really and actually be able to accurately describe your environment. Like actually accurately. I look over, okay, right now, let's say I'm overwhelmed. The plague, oh my God, bring out your dead. I'm not dead yet, bring out your dead. I'm not dead yet. Okay, so plague. Oh, my orchids have bloomed. It is fuchsia with a white background. And let's see, there are 3 lobes above and 3 lobes below. So what I'm actually doing by being able to take a moment and describe my visual field or my tactile field, that I'm feeling my biceps and I'm squidging my biceps, okay? And I'm tensing okay, so I'm going for tactile, all right? Or I'm going for olfactory, which I can't because I have allergies, because I'm allergic to cats, so I have 2, because that makes sense. Let's see, or a tactile bit, like, oh, I'm sitting on the edge of the chair. My front edge of the chair is bisecting my pussy. Huh, I rather like that pressure. I know that was TMI, right? But that's, yeah.
Midori.
But that just, that just brought me back into the now. So you can go through your senses real freaking quickly, and that will have a way of going, bam, here and now, right? So that's a practical stealth woo skill, okay?
They use that in somatic experiencing, actually. It's called orientation, and somatic experiencing is a modality that's from psychology, but it's often used to support people navigating trauma. And they say to look at 2 things you can see, 2 things you can hear, and 2 things you can feel. And I don't know if you noticed for the energy geeks on this call, how present, when you were describing that orchid, Midori, you dropped exquisitely present into the moment. And that's relevant to, get you out of the thought squirrels. It's also relevant if you're doing a scene, to drop into the now. You want to be able to be very present with the person you're playing with. I always say, presence gets my panties wet.
So in terms of specificity, I love linguistic specificities, which is where the word energy drives me the fuck crazy, okay? And so what I find with like overtly or like pretentiously woo is when the language is so vague that it's hard to actually put it to practical use, right? So when in my class, if somebody starts talking to me about energy, I get a little like, sarcastic, snarky and say, what are we talking about? Electroplay? Because as a kid, I loved taking those 9-volt batteries and sticking out on the tongue and walking around. Any of y'all do that? God, it was fun. So I was doing electroplay. That's energy. It's I turn the light on and off. That's energy. I'm actually like rubbing my hands together and creating heat. This is energy. Okay. So being specific. So I find myself when we start using language that is so vague that it's fundamentally useless, bringing it down to practical things that I can do right now. And so to say, all right, how's your heart rate? Okay, what does it take to bring your heart rate down? Okay, now just by focusing on that, right, what does it take to bring your heart rate down? There's a lot of other things that are happening right along with it, by having to notice one's heart rate, having to notice what the obstacles are that are increasing the heart rate, having to figure out and engage in actual actions. Now it also gives something very particular and achievable. And having small, achievable, tangible steps allows everybody a little success. And a little success in a life full of shit, not such a bad thing.
Yeah, I really think celebrating the little wins these days and everything you did achieve by putting your attention on that. You and one of our other friends, Marcia Baczynski, helped me with that so much last week, because I was feeling a lot of anxiety with a shift in the world and shift in, I have to build a lot of my classes to be available online, which is not something I was used to doing. And you just reminded me, it's okay. We don't have to have everything figured out all right now. So celebrating the wins, the fact you guys got on this call and got connected, and we did a 5-minute meditation, right? That was actually all about grounding. And then Midori gave you some tips on orienting that you can do whenever, wherever, even if you don't have me talking you through ways to get more deeply into your body. So we can celebrate the little wins. I think we're all going to have to do a lot of that right now.
And I made you laugh. I made you laugh.
You and the people who have been on this call have made me laugh. I really do. Karen Rachel has put some really potent things on the chat. So I want to segue, Midori, from one of the things I really appreciate about you is your deep spirituality in a very pragmatic and, I know, but tangible way. But so it's stealth, right? You're not trying to convert anybody, right? But it's deeply embedded in how you play and how you self-express. And I love that bye, Robin, from that very personal story you shared from your childhood. But I want to just address for a moment Karen's concerns, because she was just saying, going to India one time, and I actually agree with you, Karen, going to India one time does not make you an expert on their culture, does not make you a Hindu per se. Many of the people on this call haven't really met me before, so I wanted to just...
Oh, I'm going to speak up. This lady's like been over to India a ton of time, and she instead of going to rich people tours, she actually lives on the land, goes to all the things, and lives and worships and does all the things that God know I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, because I like electric bidets of Japan. But she's done all the stuff, and I totally grilled her on the cultural misappropriation crap as well, because I am way fucking suspicious of that. She passes my test. She all right.
Thank you. And I didn't feel accused, Karen, and I hope I'm saying your name right, but I really appreciate you bringing this up, because I think it is very important. I do actually consider myself a Hindu. I practice, I won't go into it too much, but something called bhakti yoga, the yoga of love and devotion. I use the Sanskrit words. I'll tell you my story. So the first time I went to India was to study classical tantra and to sit with Indian teachers, learning from them directly. And I came back honestly very confused about what to do teaching NeoTantra, because I'm like, well, in India, they don't focus on sex so much. And a lot of what I teach is around sexuality, even though for me, sexuality is a deeply spiritual practice. So for a while, I made myself wrong, thinking that I was doing it all wrong and kind of fucking it up. And, I got really I was already into chanting mantra, but there a lot of my practice was on something called Nada Yoga, which is literally the meditation on the sound even before the mantra. But when you start playing in these subtle realms, and part of why I came back around was what I notice about Westerners is that it'll get people in a room to breathe more deeply and to do what's called pranayama. So this focus on breath, and there's that word again, energy. But I'm not interested in, and Joseph Kramer, the creator of sexological bodywork, gives me shit about using the word energy too. I believe he actually bans it in his classes, and we're hiking buddies. So he's always like, what do you mean by that? But part of why people like Midori and I and Joseph and I get on so well is because they see that I do it from quite an embodied place. I'm most interested in whichever practices we engage. It's kind of like doing lab. So we try a practice just like we did with that grounding exercise, and then we notice what the impact of that is. It's kind of like, I'm not going to talk about paddles because that's edge play for me, but using a nice sensual flogger on somebody, for the kinky people in the house, right? From a physiological perspective, you're bringing blood to the surface of the skin, right?
I just want to say sensual is a relative term.
It is. It depends.
Okay,
Kept people safe.
to some people, like a bunch of rubber chickens strapped together is a sensual flogger. I'm just saying.
Hashtag Timidori.
Hey girl, I gotta let you know it's like top of the hour and I have to say like the therapist thing, which is like, it's about time to wrap up.
Great.
But I do want to give folks an opportunity, if you don't mind, to unmute themselves and ask any questions or make any comments or whatever, if you don't mind, because you got a lot more to share about this. And you lady, you should be sharing this on your Patreon. God damn it. Don't make me all auntie on your ass. I'm going to bring out those flip-flops. Okay. Just like a good Asian American auntie, I am going to take that flip-flop. Unless you take this onto your Patreon, it's going to be you, me, and my flip-flop. You know what I mean?
Oh, Midori, darling. Anybody else get hot and bothered with that?
Yes, flogging with a flip-flop. It is an Asian thing. Apparently, it's also a Latin American thing, I am told. However, in the most recent Fast and Furious, which was Shaw and Hobbs, which I highly recommend, by the way, is a scene where The Rock goes back to meet his mom, who's like half his height, and he's like, "I'm sorry, Mom." And she comes out with a flip-flop. And let me tell you, aunties and grandmas and moms flip-flops have the superpower. They throw it and they can turn the corner and like follow you like a heat-seeking missile and smack you on the head for being a dumbass. Just saying.
Well, where I was going with that, sorry, the flogging. I just want to finish this, then we'll let them jump in. But if we are flogging the back, between the shoulder blades on the back of somebody's heart, that can be an activation of the heart chakra, of the heart energy center, and you can really open up big emotions for people. So I know you know all this stuff, you just do it on the down low, and I'm more explicit in.
And so do defibrillators.
Okay, I'm gonna pause.
Clear! I'm going to open your heart chakra. Clear. Bam!
Hashtag, I do not consent to that kind of electroplay, Midori. Yes, that's extreme, Karen. Absolutely. Yeah. So,
I'm not okay. I'm so not okay. Hey, I did want to make a comment about, it just occurred to me as I was talking about Buddhism for Killers, that John Wick is so Zen because you don't kill the dog. Just saying. All right, Carolyn, are you okay with folks unmuting and making comments?
Yes, please. Group play.
I don't have to type it now. And gosh, here I left my personal defibrillator in San Francisco.
Oh, I left my heart. Uh-huh.
Yep.
Ba-dum-bum.
One of the things I wondered if you have considered, Caroline, for your Patreon going forward in this time of social distancing and keeping people in a more safer ways, if you've considered puja connections through virtual connections.
Yes, I will speak to that. I was thinking about that just today, actually, and I might start supporting people. I mean, I actually don't use the word puja for the things I lead. I call them NeoTantric rituals to be honoring of source traditions. But, you know, a lot of my live events, and I mean in-person live events, actually involve touching other people, and we're being invited not to do that right now.
Yeah.
So the classes I'm going to be offering initially online will be around individual practices that we can do, even if we are separate from other people. And I'll be sharing that with you all soon. And then I will try and look and see, you know, things are evolving by the day and by the hour. I'm sure everybody's feeling that. what can happen. You know, I even thought maybe offering something for couples, which I don't normally do because I like everybody to be able to be included. But while I fully support people in touching themselves, it's not quite the same to do an exercise like that without being able to touch another. And we don't all have cats like Midori does. So I'm definitely looking at all of that, and watch this space, and I will let you know.
Awesome.
Anyone else? Because I'm going to like be, you know,
Just wanted
bringing
say
this to a
thanks
close.
again. It was a lot of fun, as usual.
So glad you could join us, Dawn. Thank you.
Good to meet you, Caroline.
Lovely to meet you too. Last chance, Roy.
Thanks, Midori, and thanks, Caroline. Appreciate it.
Hey, and good luck, Roy, with the Zoom usage for your work stuff too.
Yeah. So, and we've got beautiful sunshine in Anchorage, Alaska today, and we're both Cheryl and I are set up for telecommuting. I've been telecommuting since Wednesday. Oh, today's my day off, and then Cheryl's been telecommuting starting today. So, knock on wood, we're less susceptible. While we're hiding out. The two of us and a cat and some houseplants. You all be safe out there. Wash your hands.
You too.
Totally.
Thanks for joining us, Karen. And
Thank you.
one of the blessings I'm really enjoying about these virtual spaces is, you know, there's at least one of my students on this call, and I'm loving that we get to connect even in virtual space, because I've always said, I've had this story for a long time. Midori always says I waste my creativity on all the stories I make up in my mind that don't really serve me. And one of the things is we can stay connected, and can even do, just like we did today, we could do energetic practices even when we're not in the same room. So it's kind of blown that story apart for me.
Yeah, it's. I think that the number of people that commented about how they were feeling connected with the group and how it changed for them only shows that how much we can be connected and doing this work together, even though we are not in a same space, right? At this point, we're in different countries at least. And there's no reason why we can't be on different continents, save it might be early or late for some people. Because the energetic groups that I'm a part of, we've ramped up. We were already doing online connections, and now we're just doing all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Beautiful.
so, and I think your idea of focusing on not needing to have a person beside us and doing self-contact work as well as group energetic work. And if you even get to the point, Zoom, if you know, has the ability to break out in subgroups. So you can have separate groups of people all connected on a different topic if necessary, right? And so there are some options that really present themselves, and we don't have to be in a disconnected from people space while we're in a separated physically space.
Right. And that's a big part of why Midori and I brought you guys online today, so we feel the connection and build from there.
Absolutely. And yeah, we'll feel some connection.
Hey, now we're talking.
And,
that's some sensual fucking toy.
And this really is a 2x4. It actually finishes out to 2 inches by 4 inches. I made it for all the people who are like, I'm going to get a 2x4. No, this is a 2x4.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Now that's a sensual toy.
You know, all a matter of perspective, dear. All a matter of perspective.
So, all right, folks, unless there's any other burning comment, I'm going to bring that big hook and hook both of us off the screen.
Live long and prosper.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Yes. All right.
Thanks for joining us, you guys.
Thank you so much for putting this together and sharing. That is awesome.
All
Live
right.
long and prosper, y'all.
Indeed.
And
Yourselves
join
as
us
well.
for my virginal sacrifice, right? That's coming up on Patreon soon.
Oh my goodness. We're going to have to watch you react to Monty Python live.
Oh!
I think the Netflix just came out with a group chat watch a Netflix thing concurrently. And so I think we need to incorporate that in with being able to see your reactions, because then you will understand better when the Bring Out Your Dead skit happens.
And help, I'm being repressed.
Yes. Yeah. Monica is pointing out the help, I'm being repressed. And, you know, the Knights
Monica,
of
Mark, I adore you all because I now have a culturally significant educational method by which to torture Caroline for her own good.
Yep. Happy to contribute to the fun.
All right, on that note, I'm closing this meeting, y'all.
Yep.
Okay.
Just remember, sit on chucks.